Hello and welcome to Animal Chat, an Alberta SPCA podcast, where we talk about animal welfare, animal behavior, and animal protection. I'm Dan Colby. Thank you for listening and for being passionate about animal welfare and compassionate for the animals in our province. Today, we're talking animal care and welfare on Alberta's First Nations. Our province's Aboriginal peoples have a spiritual relationship with animals that many non-First Nations people do not understand. So today, we're going to discuss that. I'm joined by Norm Running Rabbit, who is the Animal Control Officer for the Siksika First Nation in Southern Alberta. Norm, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
So Siksika is about 100 kilometers east of Calgary. If you drive east from Calgary on the Trans-Canada Highway, you will pass the First Nation. And the First Nation has about 8,000 members. Norm, can you tell us quickly what your job involves?
So I'm the Animal Control Officer for Siksika Nation and Siksika Animal Services more specifically. And our primary duty is to enforce the Siksika Dog Care and Control Bylaw.
And what does that look like? There's a difference between animal protection, which is protecting animals from people, and animal enforcement of protecting people from animals, animal control. Your job is a bit of both, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's so what our main focuses are based on the bylaw is two aspects, and that's animal welfare and public safety. So that being said, our bylaw focuses on, for pet owners to provide basic care, veterinary care, food, water, shelter, exercise, and such, as well as it also focuses on some of the, it's written in the bylaw as dangerous dog provisions, which we also enforce. So if there's any dog bite incidents, we certainly tend to those issues, and as well as humane practices. Our handling of animals is done so with care in mind for the animals as well as the people. Having a bylaw in place on a First Nations, and animal care and animal awareness, animal welfare awareness. It's all very unprecedented stuff. And like I said, a lot of it, you got to be creative. You got to be on your toes, as is with, I'm sure with provincial issues, but it really is a unique situation given the culture, as you will, the free roaming culture, and just how First Nations view animals and recognize that they are free spirits and should be, free to move about. So, obviously there's challenges that come with that.
Now, I suppose it'd be a good opportunity to give a quick backgrounder about Alberta's First Nations. There are 50 in Alberta, or about 50, 48, I think is the exact number. And each one will have its own belief systems. So while many of the beliefs are similar between First Nations, each First Nation may be unique in how they address animals, which means that what we're discussing today isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all type of scenario. But we are hoping to provide some important general information. Norm, can you give us a quick synopsis of how First Nations people see their relationships with animals, not just owned animals, but wildlife as well?
So when it comes to First Nations beliefs and animals, each First Nation is unique in their beliefs. I can really only speak for my point of view, which is from Siksika. For the Blackfoot, there's several animals that throughout history and in tradition that we hold in high regard. If anybody has seen the logo for Siksika Nation, it's a buffalo or bison, whatever have you, in the center. So that's one animal that's held in high regard, that represents strength and is a source for for not only survival, but maintaining nourishment and tools and warmth and shelter for many years, and as well as animals like the eagle, who are seen as to carry wisdom. And then down from there are many like local animals that are represented throughout the culture. Weasels, badgers, all these animals are viewed as as guides, as teachers through life, and just providing wisdom and examples of everyday life. Dogs in particular are a big part of that, throughout history.
Well, and there is so much that we could discuss. This podcast episode could literally be 2 hours, no problem. I think we're going to try to keep a little bit focused in this one episode, and we can talk about other topics in future episodes. Let's talk about Siksika being a free roaming dog community, which you are. What does that mean?
So, free roaming dog community is basically what it states, where the dogs are not necessarily I wouldn't use the term allowed to roam free, but they're more recognized as free beings, free spirits, if you will. Animals that should be without borders and restraints, and therefore a lot of nation members follow that practice, where dogs are, in a sense, owned or cared for by community members, but at the same time, they are seen as once again free to move about and do as they will. And that's where some of the issues would arise as we continue to progress as a society. As a community, obviously there's issues that arise with, two neighbors, for example, might have free roaming dogs. And in most cases, the dogs do get along. But from time to time, there are instances that we run into, as there would be in any case where animals are allowed to roam free. And that's where basically this bylaw, this Siksika Dog Care and Control bylaw, comes into play.
I think many people have a vision that dogs should be mostly indoor animals that sleep on the couch or at the foot of the bed. And it's worth noting the Animal Protection Act in Alberta does not require this at all. And there are lots of dogs across Alberta that live outside on rural properties, whether it be on First Nations or non-First Nations. So on a First Nation, just because a dog is wandering about, as you mentioned, does not mean it doesn't have owners or isn't being cared for. Talk a bit about how the owners of these animals would still be caring for them and providing food and water and such.
Like you're mentioning, these free roaming dogs, they are absolutely do have, if I may use the term, owners or caregivers. And I go between the two because it's not so defined one way across the board. But yeah, we are finding, and we know that a lot, if not all, these dogs that are out and about, who some non-nation members who might see them roaming around in a field as they're passing by, we can say that these animals are absolutely owned or cared for, sometimes multiple homes. And those are dogs that we refer to as community dogs, where their life is literally to go, from place to place. They would, hang out with one family for a day or two and maybe move on to the next. And they do their rounds and they've been living this way, happy and cared for their entire life. And, that is, I understand the flip side that is a very foreign to some people, to, that type of pet care. And I get it that it could raise alarms, and it does raise alarms at times. That's, I guess, the benefit of for any First Nation to to have an animal program, animal services, or animal education program, not only for the community, but for non-nation members who are, interested or might have concerns, just to bridge that gap, and just to bring about a sense of understanding, because it is a topic that does come up from time to time. And I can assure people that, yeah, these dogs are somebody definitely does care for them.
When it comes to the Animal Protection Act, the act requires that animals be provided with appropriate food and water, appropriate shelter, protection from injurious heat and cold, and provide them with veterinary care when they're sick or wounded. The act anywhere in Alberta does not state that an animal has to come in at night or be confined within the defense of its property. Certain municipal bylaws might say that animals need to be contained, but this is not something in the act. It's, in a lot of cases, it's just what people in society in certain areas of the province may envision what type of a life a dog should live. But in rural Alberta, all areas of rural Alberta, dogs typically are outside working dogs most of the time and have the ability to roam around the property. It's not just a First Nation situation as well. Appreciating that the bylaws on Siksika are probably unique to your First Nation. This isn't unusual that dogs have more free reign to roam once you leave the metropolitan areas.
No, yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I agree. Our bylaws are very similar to the provincial bylaws, where yeah, a dog must be provided with food, water, shelter, and veterinary care. Which Siksika is definitely in agreement with that, and I guess that's one of the challenges of that we face. In enforcing those bylaws in a free roaming community. In the time that I've been here, I have found that the best way is to educate the people that there is a bylaw in place and there are these expectations of pet owners, but as well that we also recognize that it is a free roaming community and that the pet owners are still accountable. If that dog goes out and goes down to the river and has a great day, that's fine. I got no problems with that whatsoever. But if it should have an instance where there's injury or even concern for the dog's condition by somebody who's come across at the time, or if it's just plain and simply maybe being a nuisance in somebody's yard, then that's where the bylaw comes into play. So it really is it's really is in my opinion an unprecedented situation, and it gets interesting at times, and it's something that we have to be on our toes about all the time, and we have to get creative sometimes about it, and we have to see both sides, and we have to consider both sides when it comes to the bylaw versus the free roaming community aspect.
And are there many problems, Norm? Do you see many of them, or does this work fairly well for Siksika?
We have our issues. Yes, we do. And I will say that, yeah, I do get very busy at times, but for the most part, I would say that honestly, a good portion, I would have to say, at least, if not more, 90% of the animals in Siksika are being cared for properly. And just because we have such a huge, population, and myself being the only animal control officer, I do get busy from time to time. And a lot of my duties that I guess that keep me busy is that these animals, it's not just a sense where we're just picking up a dog, and bringing it to a shelter. No, there's many aspects that come with that. I mean, there's follow up that we have to do. There's arrangements we have to make, and then there's sometimes we have to put a dog on a hold. Maybe we have to take a dog for a behavior assessment, or even just simply shelter a dog for whatever reason, and just hold it till the situation that it's come out of is deemed safe to return, if that's something we're considering. So it does get busy for me, but I do have a lot of faith that the greater majority of the animals, the pets on Siksika, are being cared for.
And if there's an incident where whatever's happening seems to be a bit beyond the ability for yourself just to deal with it, whether it be expertise with a particular breed or species of animal, you were telling me earlier that you invite others to offer the some guidance as well, because I know you have a strong relationship with our peace officers that work in your area.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, our biggest, I call it my lifeline, is actually the Canadian Animal Task Force, who helped us, who helped Siksika put this bylaw in place. But they're always, they're always a phone call away or a text message away, and they've been a huge help in helping us, make sense of all this, and offering guidance in some situations where maybe our resources might be limited, or even some of our knowledge might be limited. So obviously I'm making a plug to them, but I can't thank them enough. But yeah, we have a lot of local organizations that we work with, and we would be nowhere without them. There's several shelters and vet clinics that we work with, and I would love to name them all, but it is quite the list, and again, I'm very thankful for them. And like I said, maybe this may sound like more of a plug than anything, but like I said, I appreciate everything they do for us, and we would be nowhere without their help. So yeah, and then like I said, the ASPCA, more recently, working with them has only made things easier for us. Especially with some of the livestock issues that are coming about now, that tend to fall in our laps.
Well, there's just so many different animal species of animals, breeds of animals. It's impossible to know everything about all animals. Our organization, despite having decades of experience, routinely reaches out to experts in particular fields for the very same reason. We can't know everything about every type of animal, and so if you're going to make a decision, it's best to make sure you have all of the right information before you do so.
Absolutely, I would agree. I mean, that's just good all around for especially the community and the animals. I mean, you don't want to be making a snap decision, based on just guessing or whatnot. So to have those those resources at our disposal, and those knowledgeable individuals out there that, once again, I appreciate. Yeah, they're my lifeline for sure.
Well, Norm, thank you for joining me today, for sharing so much information on how animal welfare is addressed on Siksika, and telling us about your program today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate this and just having, a platform to express what we're doing out here. And no, I enjoy this very much. And thanks again.
Thanks, Norm. Now, this is our 10th episode of Animal Chat. You can find our other episodes on all the podcast subscription sites. If you like them, please give us a positive comment and please share with others so they too can learn about our podcast and what we're talking about. Thank you for listening.